Today, I want to briefly discuss pattern grading at home. I'm going to be showing you the cut and spread or the cut and overlap method today. I think that this is the easiest method to use at home. So right here, I have a bodice pattern. I've kept it simple and I do not have any shaping or darts in this pattern. So what we're going to do first is we are going to draw horizontal and vertical lines. Let's look at increasing our pattern size first. Now there are certain points on a pattern called cardinal points, and that's usually where grading happens. So generally they're in the neckline, somewhere around the shoulder, and in the lower portion of the armhole for our vertical, and our horizontal are generally in the middle of the armhole, the waist, and the hip. So I'm going to go ahead and draw those lines in now. Okay, now that we have that done, you're going to need to have your pattern and some more pattern paper underneath of it. So let's start here. And what we'll do is we'll just cut along this line. Now, there are some industry standards on how and where things grow. As I mentioned, the cardinal points. Let's think about it logically for a second. As we grow in size, we don't necessarily get wider, say between our bust, or our neck doesn't necessarily get really wide. So generally speaking, the center front is not a huge growth, right? So this would probably be less than you would grow here or here. So really just think about it in a logical manner and it will really make sense to you. So I'm going to take this pattern, and I don't really have any specific measurements since this is a half scale pattern, but let's just say it needs to spread 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have that grow 1/8 of an inch. And now you're going to use your tape, and I recommend taping the top portion, and if you have some weights, maybe put a weight down here to hold it. We don't want to tape the whole way because we still have to cut and grow in length, okay? So we've done 1/8 of an inch there. And like I said, I'm not using any specific measurements. I'm just demonstrating the technique that you will use. Also, let's do this. Okay. Tape that up there. And again, let's say I need to grow 1/4 of an inch here. So I'll shift it out 1/4 of an inch. Okay, now let's do our other measurements. For all of these, I'm going to go ahead and do 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so we have cut and spread our pattern. Now make sure that you're taping really well as you go along, and make sure that you're only cutting one at a time. If you cut them all, you might kind of get a little wonky in there. Now let's just make sure everything's nice and secure, which it looks like it is. And then you can just take your ruler and you can go ahead and blend and true everything up. And so you'll have to give and take a little bit here and there. So you'll connect, you know, your underarm here to your hip and draw in that line. Let's see, since this is a half scale, I can probably just use my French curve here, and we'll draw in the hemline. So as you can see, my French curve doesn't exactly fit in there. So what you can do is just sort of freehand it. Sometimes the pattern rulers work and sometimes they don't always fit in the best. So it's perfectly fine to go ahead and just sort of eyeball it and draw it in, just like that. Again, you connect this point to this point and blend a nice smooth line. We're just trying to draw in the shapes that go between our spreads. And I have a feeling same thing here. We'll just kind of have to eyeball that one. Okay, well look at that. So now we've increased our pattern by a size. And what you can do now is just cut the pattern out and then trace it again onto another piece of paper, and you will have your larger sewing pattern. So let's take a look at decreasing the size of a pattern. It's very much the same method, but instead of spreading, you will overlap. So this time, I'm going to draw directly onto this pattern, okay? So I'm going to draw in my 1/8 of an inch here. And we did 1/4 of an inch here. Okay, so I have drawn in how much I need to decrease my pattern, and that's what these red lines represent. So I'm going to start by taping this front portion here, just like last time. And I'm going to cut my original line, not my new line. I will cut my original line. And then you simply match up that original line to your new line. And again, tape everything in place. Okay, now that we have cut and overlap, just make sure that everything is taped securely. And the last thing you'll do is blend in true this pattern as well. So line up your points again. Like I said, you'll give and take a little from each location. Do our side seam, do all of our straight lines here. And once again, I'll just freehand that. Okay, and there we have it. We have our cut and overlapped and our cut and spread graded patterns. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. Until next time, cheers!